Are the Anaheim Ducks about to draft the next Ryan Getzlaf? Find out on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everydayers. Thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Kyle Carr. I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan, and I've spent multiple years covering collegiate sports, including college hockey. But today we're talking about the Anaheim Ducks, and the draft is getting ever closer, and we've discussed a few prospects already. The combine just wrapped up last weekend, and so today we're going to look at some new names that the Ducks could potentially target with that 10th overall pick. On the May 30th episode of Locked On Ducks, I broke down prospects Radim Mertka, Jake O'Brien, and Carter Bear. But this week, I want to take a look at Roger McQueen, Brady Martin, and to start things off, Lyndon Lakovic, or Lakovic. Lyndon Lakovic is a Canadian forward who plays for the Moose Jaw Warriors. He's coming in at 6'4" and 190 pounds. This left shot forward can bounce between left wing and center fairly easily. In the 23-24 season, Lakovic put up 18 goals and 21 assists for 39 points in 68 games. This last season, the 24-25 season, that is, he put up 27 goals and 31 assists for 58 points in 47 games played for the Moose Jaw Warriors. So pretty outstanding performance by him this next year, and you could definitely see some uptick in his play. Sebastian High of Locked On NHL Prospects, he reports that he is a very exciting player and a team could come out like bandits down the road by picking him. So that's some good words, high praise coming from Sebastian High, who also works over at Elite Prospects. So we got Locked On NHL Prospects, and he's part of Elite Prospects, so I'm pretty sure he knows what he's talking about. He's a fairly dynamic player, and even though he has a big frame, he can be deceptive and stick handles extremely well. With that size comes a very strong shot and ability to get the puck off quick and tight corners. That's the big thing, is like, even though he's got a big frame, his ability to get his shot off from either the blue line, the dots, or in tight right there in the front of the net, he's got the ability and the hands to get those shots and pucks in the back of the net. He is a bona fide playmaker. That's kind of the big selling point to his play. You can see that with how many points he got there for Moose Jaw, especially this last year, the improvement, and with how many goals and assists he got. He ended up getting injured trying to be a more physical player due to a lot of talk that he was physical for his size, or he wasn't physical for his size. It's kind of, people start talking, it gets to you, it gets in your head, and you start playing a different style of game that you're not really used to. Well, that's what happened here to my man, Lyndon Lakovic. So he's a big guy. I mean, come on, 6'4", 180 pounds, 190 pounds. Big frame, big type of player, but a lot of people were kind of trying to push him into being a more power forward because of that size. But the type of skill set that he brings is more of a legit playmaker, more skilled, more the slick hands, sick mitts, that kind of style of play. And he ends up going out trying to be this aggressive power forward type player, gets himself injured. I'm pretty sure it was a fractured collarbone or some kind of upper arm fracture. And that's just kind of unfortunate that he was forced into this bubble and, you know, people putting this pressure on the kid to play a certain style of game just because of his size when he has the ability to be just a great playmaker, make great passes. He has a big shot. His skating is fairly decent. Obviously, that is stuff that can improve, but to try to make someone play a certain style of game that led to injury. Kind of unfortunate that that's how things went. But with that, like his skill set is definitely more around his puck handling, shot, and playmaking, and his physicality will come through obviously experience and repetitions and getting used to the bigger leagues and just bulking up in the gym. That's obviously going to come, but to have the hockey IQ, that's the intangibles that you cannot teach someone every single day. Like skating, shots, the physicals, that all can be trained. That all can be worked out in the gym or on the ice. But when you have hockey IQ that's just naturally there, that is where he's going to succeed and is absolutely something that the Ducks should target. Anaheim needs to get bigger and they need to have a little bit more skill set. They're trying to get pucks into the net, and to bring someone like Lyndon in could be a great complement to the Anaheim's growth. I see him really being a person that could come in and fill kind of that middle six type position because of his skill set and playmaking that he has. You'd probably see him as a fourth liner because of his size, but just from the scouting reports and looking at highlights and looking at the way that he plays, I definitely think he's more of a middle, like third, second line type guy that's gonna bring a lot of points and then also just take up that space. That to have that size is also, it's just intimidating off the bat. So you don't really need to be that physical. Then to have the hockey IQ, moving the puck well, setting up players, taking space away from the defense. That's going to pay off dividends. And that's what I think the Ducks should really target out of him. He is ranked a little lower in the rankings than 10th, but just trying to give a broad spectrum of players. I mean, we saw what Ducks did with Beckett Seneca and then Leo Carlson. Like, clearly Verbeek doesn't really go for the players that are necessarily ranked where the Ducks are supposed to be drafting. He does a lot of due diligence and research. And I definitely think that Lyndon Lakovic is a guy that Pat Verbeek is probably, at least his group of scouts out there, the Pat Verbeek uh, office is definitely observing and taking notes on this player. And after the combine, he had a pretty decent showing as well. And it sounded like there were some pretty good responses from his interviews and everything. So could be a potential player that Anaheim could target to bring in a big guy that's got skill with the playmaking and the shot. So definitely keep an eye out and don't be surprised if he ends up in Anaheim Ducks orange. But another player that I see the potential of being a breakout star, especially for Anaheim, is Brady Martin. And I'll tell you why after this. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Well, easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your posts at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Sometimes you got to find a quick editor or a quick photographer, or if you're looking for someone to fill out some programming or whatever job you are looking for, Indeed is the place to go to get your post seen and to get the right candidate in your office. So now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/locked on right now and support your show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. So now looking at Brady Martin. He is a Canadian forward who plays for the Sioux Greyhounds in the OHL. He's coming in at 6 foot even and 187 pounds. This right shot center is a beast when it comes to physicality. He's a player that has some work to do because to become the top level player that he could be, but as he has a lot of tools in his pocket that are already NHL level and could be utilized extremely well, especially if the Ducks are trying to get more of a bottom six, middle six type center. He is, I mean, to develop the things that he needs to develop, again, those are things that are easily done with the proper coaching and the proper repetitions, much like Lakovic. But he's a player that, I mean, to look in his development in regards to goal scoring, he had 10 goals, 18 assists for a total of 28 points in 52 games in the 23-24 season. Then in the 24-25 season, he had 33 goals, 39 assists for 72 points in 57 games, and then had 4 points in the playoffs. So obviously, he took a huge stride in his ability to get pucks in the net, whether it was scoring himself or generating assists for his teammates. And he definitely has a wicked shot. We'll get into that more. But one of the bigger worrisome factors that might be a deterrent to drafting this type of player, Brady Martin, is his skating. He's not the quickest skater. Really in the full sense of the word. Like, he doesn't really have explosiveness, doesn't really have the highest top speed, but when he does get going, he kind of just he buzzes around the rink a lot. And once he gets up to speed, he's just out there just everywhere. He's all over the ice when he does finally get going and moving. He has the quick shot, like I said, and it's extremely strong shot. This thing, it fools almost every goaltender. That was a big talking point around the different scouts out there in regards to Brady Martin's game, is that his ability to score, even like when the goaltender has a full visual shot of him, like they should be able to make a stop because he's right there in front of them, and his shot is just so quick and powerful that it's beating guys. And he kind of tends to favor that left low glove side, mainly because he comes in from the right side and gets that shot off extremely quick. Some of the highlights I saw were just like, bam, all of a sudden that puck's off his stick in the back of the net. And he just got that nose for it. And the Ducks definitely need someone that's got the ability to beat goaltenders quick and in very kind of innocuous situations. That's kind of where I see his ability really showing up, is that he's just got this insane quick shot that can beat basically anyone from in tight, out far. Uh, he just knows when to put the puck on the net, and the Ducks could definitely use that. He's really good at angling. The biggest thing that has been talked about with Brady Martin is that he's probably the most violent of all of the draft picks this year. He is an absolute wrecking ball out on the ice. He destroys kids. Like, his physical play is above and beyond. Basically, if you are on the ice and he's out there, you better keep your head up because you're going to get rocked and crushed through the wall. His angles are great, and his ability to basically line up any single player is second to none. He can pick up their lane of path of travel and just light up dudes, open ice, behind that, against the boards. Like, he is a physical wrecking ball, and that's something I definitely think the Ducks need, especially when it comes to that fourth line. Get someone that can actually get a good shot off and is not afraid to get dirty, get his hands, just wrecking people out there, causing a ruckus, and just putting people into next week with his hits. That is absolutely where I see Anaheim trying to target him. And like I said with the previous skater, the things that he's lacking in when it comes to his skating and kind of his passing, those are areas that can be improved through repetition and coaching, and the intangibleness of him having that compete level and just no fear out there. That's something that's uncoachable and can definitely help benefit Anaheim. And is why I think this is a player that Anaheim could target. And then once he gets all of the main tools down and he really rounds out his game, he could be a complete mayhem causer. And if the Ducks are making a push here in a couple years in the playoffs, he's the type of player you're going to want to have in the playoffs because he can play not just a physical game, like there's physical and there's dirty and then there's clean and physical, and he is one of those players that can play a clean physical game. He's not just out there, causing penalties, just being a ruckus, getting in the team in trouble by making bad physical plays. He's making the good physical hits and checks when it's necessary, and it's a clean in the open ice, down low, doesn't try to target up high. Just an absolute menace that, like, he's very Sam Bennett comparable out there with the way that he just is constantly out there pushing guys, causing a just trouble and hitting guys. Really, that's basically it's like all I've heard about him is just watch out. He's violent. He's tough. He's a physical guy. And then he's got this wicked shot. So there is a concern when it comes to his passing. Uh, he does tend to have some good vision here and there. He can put some pucks through traffic, puts it on tape to tape to his guys. He has those moments, but there is a tendency for him to rush and make too quick of passes. He gets a little hemmed in or just mentally kind of panics when he has time and space and just makes a turnover type pass or doesn't make the most direct pass. And that's one of the main concerns that's been raised up by various scouts out there. So again, something that can be worked on, that can be trained, and really just teaching him that time and space management and understanding when to make the pass and when to really make the shot. But the Ducks already kind of have a lot of guys that are playmakers and that know how to make those beautiful, crisp passes. They don't really have someone that's hungry, that's out there trying to just put pucks in the net. I think Cutter Gauthier was a bit of a flash of that this last season, and he's obviously going to take off. But to have someone that can get shots off, he's a goal scorer and plays a very physical game, Anaheim could definitely use more of that. And so that's why I think Brady Martin is a target that Anaheim should really keep their eye on, especially if he drops down. He's kind of above, and depending on what list you look at, he's above Anaheim at like 8-9. He's also below at kind of 11, 12, 10. He's right in that middle zone. So depending really what Pat Verbeek is trying to target in this draft is going to determine obviously who he picks. But this is someone that I see really fitting into the Ducks roster as a skilled, not really a skilled guy, but a goal scorer that can have a fairly rounded package that comes and plays a very physical game and kind of brings that intangible of that crazy violent physicality that he has that Anaheim doesn't really seem to have right now. And definitely watching these NHL playoffs and looking at how things are going, Anaheim needs excuse my words, a killer out there, and he seems to be one of those guys that could definitely fill that role for Anaheim. The next player, though, that I want to talk about, this is a player that I really, really hope that ends up in Anaheim, especially after his NHL combine, after some interviews. And I'll tell you why Roger McQueen needs to be a Ducks next. There's nothing like playoff hockey. The energy, the rivalries, the nonstop action. With the Stanley Cup playoffs heating up, there's never been a better time to see it live. And Game Time makes getting in the building fast, and affordable. Game Time gives you a last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices often drop the closer you get to puck drop, so you can score big without overpaying. With Game Time, I love using them, especially for concerts, and hockey games. Obviously, the Ducks are not in the playoffs right now, but if I were out in Edmonton or Florida, I would definitely be getting on Game Time and trying to get into the Stanley Cup Finals right now, because these games, I cannot imagine what the energy is like at those right now with how these have been going. So make sure you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So the third and final player I'm going to talk about this next episode is Roger McQueen, the unconfirmed cousin of Lightning McQueen. Ka-chow. Roger McQueen is one of the biggest prospects of this draft class at 6'5" and 192 pounds. My goodness. He's a Canadian forward that can play wing and center and is a right-hand shot. And as a fellow right-hand shot, I'm all about that. He has played for the Brandon Wheat Kings for 3 seasons, and he even jumped from a U15 team to a U18 team in 2021. In 23-24, he played 53 games and got 21 goals and 30 assists for a total of 51 points and had 5 points in the playoffs. Unfortunately, injury took him out of most of the 24-25 season, where he played 17 games and got 10 goals and 10 assists for a total of 20 points. But if you expand that over an entire season, that is well over a point per game for him. So I could see him definitely, after having everything healed up and everything, he's going to be a menace out there when it comes to getting points. However, when it comes to this game, McQueen definitely brings the thunder. I mentioned after the combine, I would love to have him in Anaheim, and especially in a Ducks sweater. Well, that's because during the press interviews and while they're asking the kids different questions, he mentioned that he models his play style specifically after Ryan Getzlaf, the captain of the Anaheim Ducks. Well, prior captain. His first step, acceleration, is a bit lacking. And I mean, Getzlaf was definitely not known for having the quickest first 2 steps when he played, but he did have a absolute top speed that was pretty uncomparable to a lot of players. And you see that with Roger McQueen. Once he gets up to top speed, he can blow through people. And especially with that big frame of 6'5", 192 pounds, he's pushing through guys like there's no tomorrow. And the crazy thing is, with the size that he has, this kid has absolute silky mitts. He can control the puck, work through guys, and like, when he says he modeled his game after Ryan Getzlaf, like, he did not lie. This kid, he looks like a whole new version of Ryan Getzlaf with his ability to control the puck, manage the puck. Like, all you heard about with Getzlaf is people would be like, who is this kid over here, this crazy lanky guy? And then all of a sudden he's just deking through everyone, causing, just complete ruckus with his hands and then shooting goals. That's the type of player that you're going to get out of Roger McQueen, and you can definitely see it in the way that he plays. His big frame, like, obviously you have to give like the respect and credit to someone that size, and then you got someone 6'5" coming at you full speed. You got to give him that credit. You got to respect that. But then he's blowing by you like it's no tomorrow with his in tight ability, with his stick handling, complete package that Anaheim should look for. When it comes to his shot, he can rip a puck from distance on the fly and definitely has those silky mitts down low. He can roof pucks from in tight. He's got the quick forehand, backhand right into the top of the net ability. Like, no matter where he is on the ice, he can definitely get that puck to find the back of the net, which Anaheim, excuse me, Anaheim definitely needs to get in on that game. So if he can fall down to Anaheim's level, Pat Verbeek would be pretty much insane to not go with a guy like Roger McQueen. And like I said, where I see his game really modeling after Ryan Getzlaf, though, is his playmaking ability. He has got the craziest deceptive moves. He can totally get guys biting left and then make a play to the right that you had no idea was even there. He can see that third pane. I've talked about that before, where you've got the first plane, which is the guys right in front of you. Second plane is the next group. And then that third and beyond plane is that way back on the back end where you're seeing the trailer or the far side. And he's able to pick those lanes extremely well. He moves the puck like no tomorrow. There's just everything about his game is extremely solid. He's got the skating once he gets going. Yes, his first initial strides are not going to get him breaking out completely, but he can once he gets going. And if he's entering the zone, say on a power play, and he's coming in with momentum, he's going to blow right through guys with his ability to stick handle. He's got the ability to put the puck in the net with his shot. And then he's also got the puck control, the skills, the stick handling, the dekes. Everything is there. He's a full package. The concern, though, he is ranked pretty high up. I believe most mock drafts and simulators out there have him going 9th, just ahead of Anaheim. But if they can work out something where they can pull Roger McQueen into an Anaheim sweater, absolutely would love him. I've said this, though, on Twitter. He models a lot of his game after Ryan Getzlaf, but this cat has an absolute head of lettuce on his head. So I really hope that he doesn't model his hair after Getzlaf, because that poor guy, the locks that he has, you don't want to lose that and end up being bald by the time you're 20. So we'll hope that he doesn't have that curse on him. But an absolute legend out there. If he could come to Anaheim, I think it would be, obviously a big shoes to fill by becoming the next Ryan Getzlaf type player. But overall, the full package ability, I see him being a top 6 and even middle 6 at the beginning of his career type center, and then moving his way up. And Anaheim would absolutely have a gem on their hands with this type of player. And with his combine, the size, physicality, compete level, he's an absolute scorer for any team to get. And I really, really hope that it comes to Anaheim. There's a lot of good choices for the Ducks in this draft. It's really hard I think, for Beek to miss with the size, the skill, the physicality that comes with this draft class, and a lot of the ones that are around where the Ducks could land in the target area for them. I think there's plenty of options, and obviously we'll never know until it's finally called by the commissioner in LA when things come to an end. I haven't heard anything about a draft party because it is a decentralized event. It's being held in LA, but the teams are supposed to be having their own thing. So I'm sure there'll be something at Brewery X, and I have a feeling we'll be excited about whoever Anaheim decides to pick at that 10th round pick. But Roger McQueen, I really, really hope that he is the one that Anaheim gets to pull the trigger on, and they get to bring him into the Ducks orange country. Absolutely would love to have him. And just think of the PR and with Disneyland right there, McQueen, like, come on. It's like it's written in the stars for them. So whatever happens on draft day, I'm gonna be excited. Hopefully I'm not completely just blown away or upset about who Anaheim picks, or if it even gets a pick, if they trade it. But they say that's the worst thing to do. Never draft 10 and up picks. It never works out. for the team that gets rid of that draft pick. So we'll see how things go. We've got a couple weeks left until the draft. I'm excited. Hope you're enjoying the Stanley Cup Finals and just dreaming of Anaheim being in there very soon. Send your comments and questions my way for other prospects that you might want to look at, or if you have any additional comments on the prospects I've already covered, please send them my way at cartalksports.com/connect. That's KJERTALKSSPORTS.com/connect. cartalksports.com/connect. That's where you can send your questions my way, and obviously I will get to them, especially on our mailbag episode at the beginning of each week. But thank you for making Locked On NHL or Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's where you can find Locked On Ducks as well. Make sure you go like and subscribe to the YouTube. And as always, I'm Kyle Carr. Be good out there.